around how if we invest in foreign places, in the end it's a win-win for our own national security and our own markets in the US. But I will go back into that in a little bit. How the Borgen project started, the current president, Clint Borgen, volunteered at a refugee camp in Kosovo in 1999 during the war and the genocide there. And right away he realized how big of an issue severe poverty and this kind of destruction and the dislocation of people there was. And he thought, why is it that so many countries with means to help are not here right away, or how have we not figured out the root of these causes before conflicts like this happen? So after that, he went and interned for the UN, and there he saw that these problems occur on such a global level in general. So it's not just about one country, it's about everybody. When we all do better, we all do better, basically. So he then moved to Alaska, worked on a fishing vessel for 9 years, and used paycheck to paycheck money on funding his own project and worked late night on it. Beyond that part of the story, the focus of advocacy for the Borgen project is fixing starvation and global food security. And the reason I say that is if a person is not worried about their day-to-day basic necessities to survive, to find food for them or for their family, they can right away kind of see other prospects in life. They can decide, okay, what can I do for myself now that will make my day-to-day easier in the future, and have a constant income of food for myself. And so that's one of the first things. The second focus of advocacy is protecting newborns, children, and of course mother survival. Because if we were to really focus on that, we would really stop overpopulation in a sense, because in developing countries, mothers have many kids if many of them die in the first 6 years. If once a child makes it past 6 years, they are able to basically withstand more of the diseases out there that are normally preventable. And they have the ability to just, help their parents, and mothers will not keep having kids for one day that might take care of them in the future, Access to clean water and sanitation is, it speaks for itself. We need that. All of us need that. And who runs it? It's mostly volunteer and internship run. I think right now there's 9 paid staffers, and we operate in 839 cities. I'm kind of doing this just as a side thing. It takes a lot of time, working full time as well, but it's a great opportunity for students or just the youth, and helping them realize or put them on a pathway to become young leaders in a very humanitarian sense. And I think it's a great opportunity to also open your minds to government, not necessarily government, just a humanitarian pathway. So what the difference is between donating to an aid group, say in a developing country, and you would donate $5,000 to them, that $5,000 would go into building a well, and that well could give around 200 people drinking water. The difference between donating to an advocacy group such as this, a political one, is that with half of, or 2,000, we could conduct around 70 congressional meetings. And that means meeting with our local representative, having them co-sponsor bills that would stave off a global, or for poverty reduction bills. And that, in the end effect, if enough people do it, that could save millions of lives. And that's what I think is pretty interesting about it. These are the 4 things our methodology. Advocacy, we meet with, like I just said, U.S. congressional leaders. We mobilize. For instance, me going and meeting different groups. I go and speak at high schools, at universities. I come here with very powerful thinkers as yourself. You guys have a lot of leaders in here, and together you guys are a big force and powerful force. And I appreciate being here. And then we educate advocacy skills, how to speak to your representative, what kind of language you can use to push the most impact. And the issue message, I would just say we fight extreme poverty. That's the easiest way to explain that. Here are just some facts of the severity of global poverty right now. And this is kind of a moment where I'd like you kind of to think about how much we should appreciate exactly what we have. I remember last time at the fireside chat at Gamboa's residence, everybody had like a story, what pushed them into this humanitarian agenda. Like, it was just like a click, you know? May it be a child needing a dentist or something. That was very inspiring for me to hear. So I know that many already know what it feels like to be poor, but it's very hard, or not what it feels like, but they've seen the examples of it. But we cannot feel that like firsthand because we don't live it, you know? So in that sense, I think it's very important for us to become like active citizens, and that is to realize that we did not choose what shoes we were born into. Those people didn't either, you know? So it's kind of our moral duty, or at least for me it is. It's like, if I can do something, I will, and this is me taking a step towards that. And I told you guys to do the same. Yeah, well, I can go into this, but I don't know, time-wise?
Yeah, you have 10
I'm
minutes.
good?
10 minutes,
Nice,
yeah.
okay. So for foreign aid, this is one of the the biggest things we do. We also give to aid groups everywhere. That's part of the agenda. Like, when we go and lobby for something with our local representative, that money, or if we get grants for it, or money for it, that will then go to more aid groups than we can do for ourselves. If you give in education, that will help a lot of countries who don't really have a lot of money for, or they don't really have good teachers. A lot of them are religious based, you know, and that is sometimes a extremist hub where people can get radicalized easily, where science is kind of forgotten, and it's just implemented in their brains. It's a little bit of brainwashing, and that's where a lot of it happens. And if they even have schools, that's another, like, we build schools for that reason too. And I think this is a pretty good way to say it, that books far outweigh bombs. And I say this because if people are educated, they will learn and understand other cultures, other ideologies, other just aspects of life, and not so easily become radicalized. And that's why we must invest in things like that. The other things are pretty much already explained.
We can also have time for questions.
Yeah, not
Oh,
yet,
yeah.
not yet.
Okay, well, I'll just end on this one then, really quick. For national security interest, as you know, anyone or any place that lives under $2 a day is extremely unsustainable and makes people desperate. And that then in turn just creates refugees, which can become a national security crisis, as we've seen. And it also leads to corruption in politics, in the government. And yeah, that's a problem for everybody, really. And it's much, much cheaper to spend on development in places versus sending military troops in. I don't know why we would not stop a war before it happens, not have to intervene and try and topple the regime if we don't just use diplomatic measures in trying to get the right person in power, even though it's not really always our say, but places do need help if the citizens can revolt as their civic duty. I just have an example here, but I'm not gonna.
No, yeah, you have
Yeah?
time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I liked this example. You guys probably know Charlie Wilson, you know, the congressman from the 1980s. After the Soviets left Afghanistan, he really tried to help foreshadow that if we don't do something about leaving these millions of hopeless young people, if we don't give them some kind of means to like have hope in their daily life, you know, then it will get engulfed by extremism, and that's kind of exactly what happened. You know, Taliban takes over. That leads to Osama bin Laden and the Al-Qaeda planning the 9/11 attacks. That's just like a perfect example for that. And I just believe that that is happening everywhere. And right now there's two different acts that we as people, as constituents, can actually just email our representative for. I'll get there later. but that is, yeah, I'll get there later because, yeah. So, I'm gonna say this one pretty quickly. Every single one of the top US trading partners right now was once a beneficiary of the US. If you go back to the Marshall Plan, the first time you invest in a country that really can't save itself, that was the 17 Eastern European countries, Germany after World War II. Look at their economy now, you know? And they, in the end, as you can see here, the how much we have gotten back over time, you know? And all of these are other examples. And if you think about it, most of the countries that do not get much foreign aid, say Syria, say North Korea, say Somalia, South Sudan, all these, they have a bunch of extremism there, and they're also, a lot of them find us as an enemy, you know? It's something that we could fix, but we as the US have to be a global agenda setter and really push for this ourselves, and that, yeah, that's my point on that.
Okay, 2 minutes.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll do questions, and then...
No, what can we do?
Oh, okay, what can we do? Thanks, Mom. You're great.
Good mom is there to help.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, these are the two things I think we can do, or you can do in your life, and what you can do this morning.
And
So-
you just lost it.
Oopsie.
There you go.
Oh, okay. So, it's not gonna work, I don't know how to...
No, we
It's
can
fine,
see it.
that's fine.
Okay, I mean the next one, but one of them is called the Global Fragility Act. Right now, I think it's extremely important that we push this forward to our representative because at the moment, since our forces have left Syria, there's kind of a power vacuum happening in Syria, and with the Kurds being kind of left there to fend for themselves against Turkey. And this, I think in general, we do need to help, and if there's one way we can do it, it's in providing a lot of aid for them and making them feel like they're not being left alone. The second, or just in general, many countries like that. The second is, I don't know where it is. There's another, I'll show it to you in a moment. Another act on the floor that needs to be passed, and that's called Keep Latin America Safe. Yeah, that deals with the northern triangle of Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. And right now, that's where most of our refugee crisis is coming from, and that's what we need to do. It's really easy to just email your representative on the website. So.
And
Yeah.
go to the Borgen project.
Yeah, that's right here. I don't know.
You can, okay. Can we have you come up?
Yep.
There.
Okay, so how about a round of applause? It's an outstanding job, and we always honor our speakers by giving them a little special Rotary pin, but I'm gonna have your mom pin it on you because she's a Rotarian and she's your mom. And I just wanna say, can we get someone, oh, you guys are taking pictures, great, Annabelle, that'd be great. And